Our next guest is a comedian and writer whose book, Jews Don't Count, is available now. Please welcome to the show, David Baddiel. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm jet lagged because I flew in from London, so I was up at 4 a.m. this morning, but it's okay because I'm an insomniac.
Oh, okay. So yeah, those dovetail together nicely.
Yeah, but the thing is that you didn't do it, but when you tell people you're an insomniac, I've noticed they often say, "Oh, I'm always asleep as soon as my head hits the pillow." And I always want to say, right, if I told you I was blind, would you have said, "Oh, really? I can see perfectly"?
You're right. It's very unfair that they do that.
It really is. Yeah.
I'm so glad now, looking back, that I didn't say that.
Yeah, I'm glad you didn't.
Because it's true, David.
Yeah.
As soon as it hits the pillow. So I know you to be, you're a comedian, you're a writer, you've written screenplays. I did not realize this about you. You wrote a football anthem.
Thanks for calling it football.
Well, I know who I'm talking to, right? Yeah.
I thought you were going to say soccer, and I was going to have to claim, no, we got there first. The football thing. Yeah, no, that is one of the things I am very well known for in England, which is that in 1996, me and another comedian and a band, the Lightning Seeds, we wrote a song called Three Lions, brackets, Football's Coming Home. And it has gone to #1 in England 4 times. It holds the record for going to #1 4 times. And the problem with that is that my voice is that's what my voice is. And, like, George Michael and Freddie Mercury must be turning in their graves at the thought of it. When it came out, I mean, it is really popular, right? It gets sung at the grounds. The Queen goes on TV and says, "Football's coming home," and stuff. It's really, really popular. But it got, like, the worst review anything's, I think, ever got when it first came out from Q Magazine. This
Yeah, sure, I remember Q Magazine.
OK, so Q Magazine said, it started off well. It said, in the future, people will think of Three Lions as better than it was. In the future, they said, folk memory will erase the memory of David Baddiel's singing just as effectively as it has erased the memory of corpse robbers during the Blitz. I'm, like, almost proud to be insulted on such a scale. It's unbelievable.
It really is. But let's just to give people a sense, this is a song you wrote being sung at football grounds. Let's just take a listen. There are more lyrics than what we showed there.
Yeah, there are.
I feel like that doesn't show the breadth of your work.
You're a sports fan, right?
Yeah.
OK, so the main lyrics are about how England are going to lose, probably, because that is actually the history of England at big tournaments, but we think somehow they're going to win. And that's what chimed, I think, with football fans. But I tell you something, when it first got sung like that at Wembley Stadium, it was like, I didn't know what was going to happen. I'm sitting there with Frank Skinner, who also wrote it, and suddenly we've beaten Scotland, and the whole stadium erupts, and everyone knows the words, right?
Well, you made it pretty easy.
Yeah, yeah, I did. I knew what I was playing with football fans, right? But that was amazing. It's sort of, you meant to say that the best day of your life is when your kids are born.
Yeah.
That was the best day of my life. It was really amazing. Yeah.
I want to talk about what's inside the book, but let's start with the title. It's very provocative, to say the least. It was very strange to say it to the audience tonight.
OK. I noticed you qualified it by saying he argues that they do.
Yeah. Or they should, I guess, is really what you argue.
Well, the title is provocative, and a few people have, like a woman wrote to me from here, from New York, saying, I've tried to read this in the hair salon, and I've got some weird looks.
Yeah.
Right? But in Germany, so this book's come out in Germany, which perhaps shows what the problem is, because... It's come out in Germany, and the German publishers wrote to me, and they actually said, we can't call it, it's Juden zählen nicht, Jews don't count in Germany. And they wrote me this very serious email. They said, with our history. And I was tempted to troll them and say, sorry, what history?
Yeah, exactly.
What are you talking about? See how long I could keep that going for.
Right.
But eventually they said, no, we can't do it, and they called it something else. You've got it there. They called it Und die Juden, ? Which means and the Jews, ? Which sounds creepier to me. It sounds more like something that an SS general would say to, like, Hitler. And that's the last thing they say in the meeting, and he just looks really cross.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a book where you argue that anti-Semitism should be judged the same as racism, that it is in fact racism, and that
Yeah.
it's often not valued the same.
Well, it's a book about the anti-racist, the identity politics conversation.
Yeah.
And about how in that conversation, which has intensified incredibly over the last 20 years, it seems to me that anti-Semitism, which is a very old racism, very old form of discrimination, is kind of very low in the mix of that. That it kind of feels like people aren't so bothered about it. I start the book with about 12 examples of this. For example, I'm sitting at home, I'm listening to Jeremy Irons in 2019 read out all of T.S. Eliot's poetry on BBC Radio 4, which is a very kind of posh thing. And I know that I'm going to get to lunchtime and he's going to read out the lines, which are real lines from T.S. Eliot. The rats are underneath the piles, the Jew is underneath the lot. And my point is not that T.S. Eliot is an anti-Semite, we know it. The point is, where's the reaction to that? In a trigger space that we exist in for microaggression against all minorities, why is Twitter not alive with fury at that and statues of T.S. Eliot being toppled? I'm not asking for that to happen. I'm asking why there is no conversation about it.
And why it must have occurred to you and your publishers as well, coming at it from a comedian's perspective, it doesn't seem like necessarily a topic that would be rich for, sort of comic mining of the material. What made you decide to want to approach it in the first place?
Well, I don't just do comedy. I've become, as I get older, I find as I get older, I'm allowed to talk about serious stuff more.
Yeah.
There is jokes in it. I talk about, in fact, meeting a Jewish football commentator who interviewed me once and told me he wasn't Jewish. And then I met him later on at the World Cup in Japan in a sauna, and he was.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So there are jokes in it, right? Right? But it is, it's mainly serious. I mean, the point you made about racism, I've noticed in America this is a more complex thing, is that there seems to be a problem with calling anti-Semitism racism. And if you want the argument for it, I'm an atheist, but that would get me no free passes out of Auschwitz. I've noticed that white supremacists, they don't check whether I keep kosher before they think I'll burn down that Jew's house. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
Right? So for me, it's an accident of birth that the racists hate me for, and so therefore it's racism. And, I mean, as it happens, being an atheist and a Jew is kind of a weird thing, because people don't understand that either. But basically, I don't believe in God, I believe in Larry David. It's quite straightforward for me, right? Like, actually, can I just tell you a quick story? Because I use that sometimes to get out of, because it's very common being an atheist and a Jew, but I use it sometimes to get, because I'm well known in Britain, to get out of stuff I get asked to do by the local Jewish community. So this rabbi rang me up, my local rabbi, I've never met him, somehow got my number, and says, can you light the menorah, the big menorah in London? You come and light it, because you're kind of Mr. Jew, right? And I didn't want to do it, so I played what I thought my trump card. I said, I'm sorry to tell you this, Rabbi, but I'm an atheist. He said, so am I. I thought, I mean, like, how common has that become amongst Jews, right?
I know that when you write about something that is this provocative in topic, you're going to hear from, both sides. But I heard that you have a internet troll of a sort living in your own home.
I do have that. I have my son, Ezra, who, I don't know if you've got a teenage son,
no,
but it is like living with an internet troll. He likes to humiliate me and he uses, I guess, my public profile against me to some extent, but he's clever and he's good with technology. So, for example, we were in Cornwall last summer, and it's by the sea, and I was just driving there with my family, and that summer my car stereo had packed up, so I was using a Bluetooth personal speaker for the music in the car, and it's just on the dashboard. We get out of the car, it's a really crowded car park. I'm holding that in front of me because I think I don't want that to be stolen. I'm holding like swimming costumes and towels or whatever. It's really awkward. I noticed that Ezra is doing something with his phone, but I'm not really paying attention. Then suddenly this speaker starts playing incredibly loudly, this incredibly Jewish music, right? And I could see all the people in the car park look round and clearly think, oh, look, there's David Baddiel. I guess he must have to have music like that around him all the time. Any minute now, he'll be doing this, I imagine.
God love a teenage kid who can take it out of his dad.
You know what? I was humiliated, but I was proud, because that is a good gag.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It feels like he ticks both the boxes of Judaism and comedy in the same moment.
That's what I would want for him.
Thank you so much for being here. Congratulations.
It's lovely to be here.
Thank you, everybody. Jews Don't Count is on sale now wherever books are sold. But please support local and independent bookstores.